We will now start our Sunday service. We join with other Unitarian Universalist churches in striking the gong 3 times. Once in memory of those who have lived, built, and nurtured this congregation before us. Once in honor of those calling us home here today. And once for those of her future. Good morning on this Sunday, April 27th. My name is Lawrence High, and I'm your service leader for today. We welcome you to this wonderful Sunday service of the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist Church of Roseburg. Whomever you are in our congregation, you can be yourself, but not by yourself. Whomever you are, whoever you love, however you describe yourself or name the holy, you are welcomed. We especially welcome those who are visiting for the first time, those recently new to us and returning again. We're so glad to have you here with us today. Please stay after service and for tea and coffee and conversation so we can all get to know each other a little bit better. This has been a difficult time, and great appreciation goes to each one of you for your contributions and help in restoring this church after the unfortunate flooding. Much appreciation goes to our staff, our media director, Jack Trainer, and our church administrator, Genevieve Gonzalez. I believe we have a few other announcements. Sharon?
Okay, can I put this down here? Oh, I can stand on my tiptoes. Okay, after services today, we're going to have a short, unofficial conversation about what all the changes that are happening and there's also going to be, I brought a copy of the draft budget. So you'll have a chance to look at it, peruse it. We aren't going to really talk about it today, but at least you'll have it ahead of time and can look at it. So, look. Huh? And cookies. So, anyway, thank you all for being here, and we've been busy even though it may not seem like it. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam President. We will now move in compassion for those in need and who are hungry, ill, and without shelter. Our congregation's service to the larger Roseburg community is to collect your contributions of food and money. This support of the Fish Pantry is a combined effort of several Roseburg churches. Our church offertory is later in the service. Thank you. Your gifts will help others. We would also like to welcome our live streaming audience watching from home. Thank you. Our chalice lighting words are from Dag Hammarskjöld. Each morning we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back. Our opening words today are from Greg Braden. Every time one person chooses a new way to respond to the challenges of life, each time an individual chooses a new option, that person then becomes a living bridge for all the others who choose to follow in that person's path. We will now sing our first hymn, Holy Now, by Peter Mayer.
When I was a boy, each week on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, to finding where there isn't one. Holy water wasn't rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath, like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, and say it's not a sacrament, tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Everything is holy now. Now is the time in our service when we remember our joys and concerns with silent or spoken candle lighting regarding the significant milestones in our lives. I invite those who wish to light a candle, silent or spoken, to please form a line to my right. For those with spoken candles, give your name. The offering is a sacrament of the Free Church. We are supported by the voluntary generosity of all of those who are part of the congregation. Your offering will be received in grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. For the gifts we have received today, may we be truly grateful. May we be committed to using these gifts to make a difference in the world and to expand our beloved community. Please rise as we sing, "From You I Receive."
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Please remain standing as we sing our next hymn, "This Little Light of Mine."
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Deep down in my heart, I'm gonna let it shine. Deep down in my heart, I'm gonna let it shine. Deep down in my heart, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
This Little Light of Mine. I would like to introduce today's speaker, Donna Smith. She is a Unity Worldwide Ministry spiritual leader whose training focused on pastoral care. She is most happy when she can help others find peace and joy in their lives. She's a Unity chaplain, a Taizé prayer leader and trainer, a Reiki master and practitioner, a nonviolent communication teacher, a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles, a teacher of the Way in Mastery, and is active in our Cares and Concerns ministry. Her sermon today, "The Mystery of the Gift of the Blessing." Donna Smith.
Good morning. Well, as Dorothy said, there's no place like home. I think a lot of people had made plans because we really didn't expect to be here today. And it was, just a wonderful thing that we can use this up here, and it has everything we need. So it's really wonderful. Well, I'm going to talk today about the mystery of the gift of the blessing. I want to do that because things seem to be getting worse instead of better, and I think people need something to help them get through this chaotic movement that we are going through. So I'm going to start out with a little story. In the Babimba tribe of South Africa, when a person acts irresponsibly or unjustly, he or she is placed in the center of the village, alone and unfettered. All work ceases, and every man, woman, and child in the village gathers in a large circle around the accused individual. Then each person in the tribe speaks to the accused, one at a time, recalling the good things the person in the center of the circle has done in his or her lifetime. Every incident, every experience that can be recalled with any detail and accuracy is recounted. All his or her positive attributes, good deeds, strengths, and kindnesses are recited carefully and at length. This tribal ceremony often lasts for several days. At the end, the tribal circle is broken, a joyous celebration takes place, and the person is symbolically and literally welcomed back into the tribe. Interesting. No punishment. No demeaning. Only expressions of gratitude, acceptance, and celebration. This is love in action. It is a way to settle differences that most of us are not familiar with. We haven't been taught that. In our society, punishment rules. Suing in the courts is our right. Excessive awards can destroy the defendants, but that's okay because they did something wrong. You know, they did not live up to societal rules. So what the Bambima tribe does and what the gift of the blessing does will fly right in the face of the ego and the brain, actually, too. The ego and the brain will refuse to see how this could make any sense, that this kind of action defies reason. The brain is a great calculator, and it operates in a linear fashion. It cannot see beyond the linear into the quantumness that is what life is all about. And the ego, well, it will reject the gift of the blessing because it does not make sense if you're not fighting for yourself. You know, to the ego, the self is the only consideration. So today I'm going to ask you to set aside the messages you might receive from your brain and from your ego. I expect some will come up, and that's okay, but I just want you to maybe set them aside for a moment and see what this is all about. Now, you are a light worker. You want peace. You want to serve and make a difference. And you know, I see it within each one of you. I see it within your eyes and your heart. I see it because you're right here. And I see it through all the work that went together just to come together today in this particular space. We work together. So remember, you can bring light to the darkness, but you cannot bring darkness to the light. This is very important for us to remember, because the light is love and the highest energy in existence. In fact, it's the only real one. And I know that darkness and fear feels very real, but love is truly the only real expression for divine beings. Now, you may think that you by yourself cannot make a difference. Well, I want to share this African proverb with you. It says, if you think you are too small to make a difference, you haven't spent the night with a mosquito. Have you ever spent the night with a mosquito? I have. And I'm sure African mosquitoes are quite a bit larger than ours. So light workers work from the light. And it may seem like we are not making progress as we look out into the world today. However, We're only getting part of the picture. We're only giving, that sensational news, and I personally don't even think most of it is true. That's my opinion. But remember, all that is coming out must come out. It must come forth so that we can shine the light on it and heal it. So this is something that we truly do need to go through. How we go through it will make the difference, though, in your life, how you go through it. Now, the darkness will fight for survival, but it's the light that really is the power here. But it cannot survive as long as we continue to hold that light and not succumb to the fears that come up before us. Now, to face a fear is the best way to handle fears. It's not like we're not going to feel this fear occasionally. That's not going to happen. We will. But we face it. And then we look at it from a view of how can we alleviate it and work through it. So your light is your truth. It is your strength, and it is your path to peace. Now, right now, the door is actually opening for healing through all of this. And I like to envision things, so I do that with, I'm seeing this big door opening up, and it's showing us all these things in this dark room, right? But we're going to turn the light on. And when we turn the light on, then it's revealed, and then we can get our broom and our dustpan out and clean it up. And that's kind of the process that we're going through right now. Greg Braden studies at great length the messages and wisdom of our ancient peoples. His books are just wonderful. And the gift of the blessing comes from the ancient Essenes, which was during, biblical times, during the times of Jesus, they existed. So it is a process to help you as a light worker remember that you have come to this planet to help in the ascension process. We're all here to learn and grow. And so this process means facing our fears and then stepping into the light and transmuting those fears into love. That's the process. So why do I think this is important today? Well, I've kind of already said we really need to know what's going on, and we need to know beyond what the media gives us so that we can see what's out there and then know what we need to do in order to help, in order to shine our light. So having this information is important. And we must understand, for the first time in history, we have the power to preserve or destroy our lives and our world. We truly have that power. What we have done in the past hasn't worked, has it? And that's because we've been relying upon our brains and our egos. That's not a judgment, that's just a process that we've been going through. But I want you to remember also what Einstein said. He said we cannot solve our problems on the same level that they are created. And that's what we've been trying to do. So that's why I think the gift of the blessing is going to help us rise above the level that they were created. And our brains and our egos are very important for different parts of our lives, that's for sure. However, they cannot tell us why about anything. Okay, they can tell you, that your body might be hurting, but it can't tell you why. So that's why we need to go into our hearts and find the answers to all of our questions. Now we can pray for peace, advocate peace, all in vain if we do not have peace in our heart. And so this is a process of rising above the consciousness level that it was created, move into our hearts and into the love, and finding that resolution that's going to come from love and not anger. I mean, it does absolutely no good to be angry that there's no peace on earth. Do you see what I'm saying? You're angry. You're not bringing peace on earth if you're angry. So we don't want to be angry about that. We just want to go ahead and promote peace on earth. So it's time to pursue other ways, and I think the gift of the blessing is a wonderful way. And what is it? It's a quality of thought, emotion, and feeling that allows us to clear that anger, that resentment, and that hurt from our bodies, from our minds, without condoning what has happened. It allows us to participate in the world and the challenges that the world is showing us from a position of strength and power and compassion instead of fear. So it is a process that allows us to accept what has happened and acknowledge our feelings. We cannot transcend what we do not accept. Now, I can feel some resistance when I use the words accept, the word accept. However, through acceptance of what has happened, the gift of the blessing acts as an emotional lubricant that helps the emotions move through our bodies instead of getting stuck there. So when these emotions of anger, resentment, hatred, sadness, all of those things come up in our bodies, they can get stuck there, and guess what happens? Then we experience dis-ease, we experience maybe unhealthiness, emotional unhealthiness, because we're holding on to all of that stuff. So why does the gift of the blessing work? There's a field of intelligence that permeates all. Science is finally accepting this, and they call it the quantum hologram. The Noetic Sciences Institute calls it nature's mind or the mind of God. Doesn't matter what you call it, it's there. Our universe is a hologram. Does everyone know what a hologram is? Yeah, you know what that means? That means you are the universe in totality, because every one of us is the universe in totality. Pretty awesome, isn't it? Some of you are looking like, oh no. But what this means is our consciousness is holographic also. So if a change occurs in any part of the consciousness of anyone, it affects everything. The whole. And that's why prayer works. That's why distance healing works. That's why a mother knows that something's happened to her child across the country the moment it happens. Okay? That is why prayers for peace in the world are going to work. We just need to keep going with it. Because there's going to be that point where, what do they call that, the 100th monkey? Yeah. So our universe is alive, it's a breathing entity, and every part, every person, every tree, every rock is important enough that it cannot exist without it. So the universe cannot exist without you. So that is why we need to be very careful about what our thoughts are. It means that we need to be very careful about making judgments. And just instead think about, what can I do to send a positive effect out into the world? Doesn't mean we're going to understand it. We'll probably never understand it. But that's okay. What we really do need to understand is our effect every moment. Is it supporting what we want? So we're really in the middle of this chaos right now. And so that's why it's important that we must be the change that we want to see. There is an ancient Native American legend that we came here as a family a long, long time ago. And for reasons we may never know, we got lost and we forgot who we are. But we longed for that relationship with the divine that we had somehow lost. So we began to build complex machines outside of us that mirror this relationship inside of us. So all of the transistors, all of the satellite technology, all of the technological machines that do things for us All of these abilities are within us, and we've lost them. We call these abilities our quantum powers, and you've heard me speak of them a lot. In fact, Greg Braden and several others that I've read say that once we remember our quantum powers, we don't need any of those machines anymore. That's something to work for, isn't it? Yes. The native Aborigines still use telepathy. I even looked that up this morning to make sure I was correct in saying that. And yes, they still do. They still use that. So we have the power to heal. And it's within us. And the more that we work towards understanding that power and using that power, then the healthier we'll be, and the healthier our impact on the world is going to be. And I think the gift of the blessing is one of the ways that we can do that. And these are just some of the reasons why this works, but the main reason is that it is impossible to be in a place of judgment or polarity and be in the presence of the gift of the blessing. It takes you outside of the judgment and puts you in this wonderful place where you are empowered. And yes, there you can make a difference. So there are 3 components to our hurts. Excuse me. Those who suffer, those who inflict the suffering, and those who witness it. Many are the suffering and the witness. They're one and the same in many events. So in order to give and receive the gift of the blessing, we must bless all 3 parts. And we must do that from our hearts. Sometimes we have to do it again and again and again. I've had situations in my life where it took 2 years or more, but I kept doing it. And so it does work. We might have to be patient with the process, though. So until we move these emotions of fear through our body, we will never be able to access the wisdom within, because we're still in fear and we're not in love. We're not coming from the wisdom of our heart. So what does it mean to bless someone? It just means to see the sacredness in them. That's all it means. So number 1 is bless those who suffer. Well, that's pretty easy, isn't it? You know, our hearts look out there and we see that suffering. We even feel it because of the mirror neurons that we have. We look at someone else suffering, and we cannot tell a difference between whether they're suffering or we are suffering, because we're one. Okay, we're that connected. And so it's easy, to bless the ones who are suffering. Now, it's more difficult, isn't it, to bless the ones that are inflicting the suffering? Yes. And here's something we really need to remember. They are divine beings. We're all divine. They are divine beings that are so steeped in fear that what they're doing is what they think needs to be done at the time. So to help them, it's not going to help if we come from a fearful stance. To help them, we must come from our strength, our compassion, with forgiveness. And I know that word, kind of gnaws at people too. How can I forgive somebody who did that? But if you don't forgive, you're holding it within yourself, and you're affecting yourself more than anything. Now, again, I want to say this does not condone actions. And we might have to take someone out of society for a time, to keep people safe. That's okay. But what it does mean is, if we take them out of society and treat them like they're trash and then release them, guess what? They're going to do even more harm, because they are filled with resentment. We need to instead help with rehabilitation, with understanding what they're going through. Then we're coming from our hearts. And then, just like the Bambima do, we're coming from our hearts and we're giving them the blessing, which they really, really, really need. Now, witnessing, You know, that can cause some great grief to witness all of this. But we still must bless that with the greatest kindness to those and to ourselves, because many times we are the witness. Now, there'll be times that not only are you giving the gift of the blessing, but you receive it too. So in giving it, you begin to accept and understand what is happening or what happened, and then you can transcend it. In receiving it, you actually go through a change in your thoughts, and that changes your body. But your heart begins to lead, and you begin to feel the love and the compassion for all the parties involved. And once your heart begins to lead, that's when you will access your divine wisdom. So this then changes the pattern. And this allows the dynamics of healing to begin. And when you are coming from your wisdom, guess what? A ton of options appear that you couldn't see when you were standing there in fear and anger. You're working then from your wisdom. So I'd like for you to consider going into meditation now, and maybe picking something that you're going through right now, or maybe in the past, it doesn't really matter, but an event, could be a person or even a government, anything that is causing you some anger or disillusion or something like that. Doesn't feel good in your life. So I want you to consider that in our meditation today. And so, take a deep breath. I know this is asking a lot. You know, our society just hasn't trained us to be this way. And so we're asking for our hearts to open and look for newer options so that we can get out of that rat race, you know, feel like a hamster in a cage just going around and around. We want to make a difference. So just relax. Take your attention to your heart. Just feel the silence there in your heart. Feels good, doesn't it? It's a wonderful place to go. And so from this place, think of someone or something that has hurt you, or maybe someone you love, something that you're still carrying grief over or sadness about. Place it in your heart. And so first, let's bless those that are suffering, including yourself. Hold them in the love of your heart. And now I want you to think about those that are inflicting the suffering. I want you to take them into your heart. Hold them in your love. How does that feel? Now I ask you to think about the witness or witnesses, and you're probably one of them. And bring them into your heart and hold them. Hold them together with those that are suffering, those that are inflicting the suffering. Hold them as one divine unit that needs love and understanding. So just be with that in your heart for just a few moments of silence. You may be feeling a lot of emotions, or maybe that nothing is happening at all. But I encourage you to give this process a chance. For the first person that is healed is you. And then the healing moves out to those who are suffering and those who are inflicting it and those who are witnessing it. Because it's based in love. And what is very wonderful is, once this process has been completed, you really feel the freedom. And you really feel the empowerment of your love. So let's take a deep breath and bring ourselves back into our sacred space here. Rumi said, if everything around you seems dark, look again, you may be the light. Yes. But this is not about light versus dark. The dark can be against the light, but the light is not against the dark. The light is here rescuing the darkness from itself and returning it to the remembrance of its true self. That's what light workers do. That's what we're here to do. So it's a rescue mission. Okay. And rescue missions are always from the heart and always from love. And wisdom. And joy. All right. Thank you very much. Do we have time for this, or should I don't know what we're going to do today? Okay. You want this one? Oops. All right.
Would anyone like to make a message?
Donna, I had a hard time listening after hearing about that tribe, because if you think about it, you know, I thought about myself in that tribe, and when you first, if I were the person that made a mistake or a transgression, which isn't unlikely, so if I was in there, I think the first thought I'd have would be that I would be mortified. You know, but there's the process. These people must have a high level of mental health, Because if you think about even if they're judgmental, even if they're sort of jerks themselves, if they're in the circle around, they learn from the other people and their comments. I mean, I'm fascinated. I think this is, and I could see it happening in small, like here on our board, if I were to make a mistake, like I said, that's not unlikely to happen. And everybody said something nice to me, so, and they do. So, I mean, I'm just fascinated by this whole concept. But the other thing that I just saw a meme on Facebook, and it says, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop."
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's that whole, and the more I think about it, we're not really disconnected from other people. There's really connection there, even though we are used to seeing it from a Westerner's point of view, because that's the only one I really know,
Right.
as being separate, but we're not separate. We're connected. And I think that's what our principles address, especially in the seventh principle.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They call it a web, but it's, that interconnectedness. So I love your talk today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The thing that helps me is, what is the energy that I am projecting out of me? What energy am I putting into the world? And it might help you make your decisions before you do something. You know what I'm saying? That helps me anyway. Do I really want to do this, or do I want to do this? What's the energy that I'm emitting?
Well, if I were the person in this center, and I heard it's a reprogramming of, it would be a reprogramming of myself, and it make it more likely that I would choose to do something appropriately, I would think.
Yeah, and all of those people are showing they love you, regardless of what has happened. They're focusing on you and how wonderful you are, instead of taking this little action over here and just focusing on it as, you're a horrible person. Well, that can't help. I can't even see that helping. So the whole process is a reverse of what we have here. We have a system based on punishment, and it doesn't do a lot of good, actually.
Well, but then when I think about, that's one point of view. That's the major point of view I have. But then I think about somebody like, maybe our president, how difficult that might be to put him in the center of a circle. I mean, that would be really challenging.
I know it'd be challenging, but just think of the difference you'd be making. You would be bringing light to a situation that we're going to describe as dark, maybe, whatever whatever your opinion of it is. But you're bringing light to it. You cannot help but help, assist in this transmutation. Actually, it might take a lot of light, but it will work. So in those kind of instances, just, and I do this, I actually do this. I just enfold all of the government, actually, in light, and I just thank them for doing the best they can. That is going to help. But putting them down for everything they're doing and this and that is not going to help, because you're really on the same level. You haven't helped at all, because your energy is still down there with, anger and loss of integrity, all of that kind of stuff. You're part of that. We don't want to be part of it because we're not helping. So that's why, even if, you think you're not going to make a difference, remember the mosquito. You are making a difference, because every thought affects everything. And so, and another thing about thoughts I want to say is, we can have, I think it was Deepak Chopra who said we have 60,000 thoughts a day. I did the math on that, and I think it's possible. Anyway, I thought 60,000. But the thing about thoughts is we have that many thoughts. The ones that actually have power behind them are the ones that we think about over and over and over. You know, you might have a passing thought, you just want to hit that person because they're so ornery. Passing thought, okay, it's not going to harm you. But if you keep thinking about hitting that person and then hit them, yeah, that's going to do something to you and to them too. So, you see, so the power in your thoughts are the ones that you really hold on to. And so you don't have to be worried that you just had that thought, as long as you let it go. So, yeah.
So, the thing that I find helpful in trying to be positive or I don't know, warm or loving toward people who are causing harm either to me or to other people is to try and see that most people who do that, most people I've known who do that, are doing it from a place of having been harmed or being hurt in their own selves, and it's like they're putting their hurt out into the world. Unfortunately, it's a lot easier, even though not always easy, to do that interpersonally with people that you actually know than to public figures who cause huge amounts of harm.
Yeah. There's a real story about a woman who left her husband because he beat her all the time, beat her physically. And she had a little boy. And so they escaped and they went to a safe haven house. And the little boy started hitting his mom. Never done that before. And she says, "Why are you hitting me?" And he said, "Well, somebody's got to love you." He was taking the father's actions as love because that's all he knew. So that, to me, is a story of, the way we're brought up. All these experiences that we have are going to affect some of these things that we do. And we don't understand all that about everybody. So that's why we have to, just do the best we can by sending them love and light. It was kind of sad but that's a real story. It's actually happened here in Roseburg, so, yeah. We have power. We have power. We can make a difference. We really can make a difference. And I know you all are. Because you're light workers. Do we have any other comments or anything? Yes.
I woke up this morning and realized I've got a lot on my list. And I do, but that's okay. It beats doing nothing. But I'm a caregiver, and I love being a caregiver. In fact, the VA hospital actually paid me to do it, so I got a pension behind it. But the hardest thing about being a caregiver is taking care of yourself. One thing I told my fellow veterans when I was working there is the hardest thing to do is, for most veterans I know, is to ask for help. So I thought, wait a minute, I could use some help and uplifting. I know I got to do the grocery shopping, but dang, it's Sunday. I have friends at the Unitarian Fellowship. So I didn't take time to shave, but no one's ever criticized me for that. And the first thing I want to do is I need a bro hug. Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you very much. And And thank all of you for coming here today, because I know humor is a big part of my life. When I walked through the door, my first thought was, oh, I'm saved. Now, my sister, who lives in Mississippi, was baptized in a Baptist church. The next time she asked me if I've been saved, I go, as a matter of fact, yeah, I was, just last Sunday. So thanks for saving me, everybody.
You're welcome.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Are there any other comments? If there are no other comments, please rise as we sing our next song.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Our closing words today are by Donna Smith. Whatever choices we have made in the past, they have not solved our problems. Therefore, we must look at the problems we are facing in a different way so that we don't keep getting the same results with no solutions. There is always a way to solve our problems from our innate wisdom and power. Please be seated while I extinguish, or we have the chalice extinguished. Our chalice extinguishing words are by Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. As we end our service today, especially in this very difficult time, both nationally and internationally, we have reminded that we have come this way in love and a consciousness of love, recognizing that a loving God is all that there is. There is no other power, no other presence, no other all-knowing intelligence. It's just this spirit of life. And it's in this spirit that we live, move, and have our being. Oh, may each of you be a shining light for loving kindness to all that you may meet today and the rest of the week. Please rise as we sing our song. Well, let's have a circle of oneness as we sing our family song, Go Lift It Up.